And we're back. This is part 2 of the Whitfield Report, and I'm your host, Sam Whitfield, with guest Kasey Dynneson, and let's light this candle, as Dennis Miller used to say. So we were talking about how in much disarray the Democrats are, Kasey. Now, you know, like you touched on, well, okay, so why do you think that is? Partially, I'll just kind of give you the floor.
Well, I mean, it's a couple things. You could have seen it. There was this misconception. I'll take us back, let's say, a year ago. That there was this misconception that after the stellar doings of Barack Obama during his tenure as president, that a Democrat would be the shoo-in. However, a couple things happened. You had a terrible candidate. You had terrible candidates throughout the entire election. I mean, you look over. Some people need to go back and look over that. Maybe they had one guy that I could have voted for, which was Jim Webb. Honestly,
yep.
Jim Webb was probably the most people across the aisle liked him. He would have been suitable, and they could have done it, but they instead went with Hillary Clinton. And before that, she was the official candidacy. She had Senator Bernie Sanders, a self-proclaimed socialist who was a good 4 years older than her. Really had no national acclaim other than Vermont and the like, but and his record was even worse than hers, except for voting against the Iraq War, obviously. But the reason I think that they got into disarray was because the progressives of the party, the far left, basically were much more organized than those in the center or those business Democrats. Another thing is they bled support in certain key groups. Excuse me, but they bled support in the African American community. They bled support in the Hispanic community. The Asian community it has always been in flux, but now swung to the right. And even the LGBT crowd, you've seen more of them. I wish there were more, but that's beside the point. They bled support also from Democrats. They bled support from the business Democrats, which is an issue because they actually need those people, because largely a good chunk of them are donors. So they lost a good chunk of their donor class. But as to why they are in complete chaos, I think this is just a single factor. I think the major factor is people felt disenfranchised after the Obama administration failed to hold most of its promises. And guys like Perez, who's been recently elected as the head of the DNC, were part of that administration, were part of that mentality, the false change that was promised and never came. But guys like Bernie Sanders and Keith Ellison are seen as more genuine, so that their own faults are overlooked. So really what the civil war that's been happening in the Democrats really is between the old guard and the progressives. So it's pretty much similar to what the Republicans had to go through with the Never Trump Brigade and the Trump movement. However, the Never Trumpers were resoundingly defeated. They were routed completely. The progressives weren't, mostly because it was over the course of their primaries. It was leaked by WikiLeaks that essentially Clinton cheated her way to the position that she was given, and she continued to cheat through the presidential campaign. And she never addressed any of these issues. She never did. And It's largely the fact that they see that Perez will be an extension of the Clintons and Obama. The worst aspect is that they are not transparent, that they are not as open as they should be. And that's kind of why you're seeing the fracturing. It's just the old guard is still the old guard, and they are still in power. And the upstarts are just they're much more vocal, and they have much more backing.
In all fairness, though, and this is something that, I really hate to say, but, the election was pretty close. I mean, Hillary almost won. Had it not been for a couple of those states going to, Trump, we would be in a completely, we would be talking about how bad of a president Hillary Clinton, would be. So, people do forget sometimes that it was a pretty close election.
Yeah.
Now, with that, quite honestly, I'll just admit this up front. Like, when Trump won on election night, I was shocked.
Oh, so was I. I thought getting hammered.
Yeah, I mean, I was so shocked that I literally cried like tears of joy when he won. Like there should have been no way that he won that election because
of the states he did, though. That's what was amazing about it. Didn't he flip Michigan?
Yeah, he flipped. It was the ones that he flipped. He flipped Michigan. He flipped Ohio. And a couple of
Wisconsin.
Yeah, Wisconsin. And that just makes me wonder, because I always kind of knew that Hillary was going to win, but I always thought that she was going to win by rigging the thing, and so that makes me wonder, was the election rigged in her favor? I mean, it kind of seems like it was a bit because, I guess the newspapers
Well, they brought out the big guns. That's the issue. I think, like you were saying, yeah, they already had that god awful "Hello, Madam President" thing on that. Which paper was doing that?
I think that I think that was Time Magazine. Yeah.
It was just such a comical thing to see that, though, at the end of the day, just because they were denied it, and it's just funny to watch their faces. That meltdown, those meltdowns, by the way, were fantastic.
I was replaying those throughout the day on YouTube, so yeah.
But I think I don't know. I mean, it's such a weird feeling, though. It was. Trump should not have won. Brexit should not have happened. So, I mean, I don't know what to think about this other than saying that there was a massive backlash for the past 20 years of crap that's been going on. It just spilt over.
Yeah, and I think, it was a little bit of luck too, in terms of Trump hit the right places, at the right time. Well, and the thing that amazed me about Michigan turning red was the day of the election. Okay, the day prior to that, I was on Facebook at 11:45, it was almost midnight, and I saw on Facebook, Donald Trump is going live, and they had that surprise rally in Michigan, and it was at 1:00 in the morning, when he gave his final campaign speech before the election day, and he did a great job with motivating the crowds, And like I watched the whole entire thing, like thinking, wow, this was a great campaign, and it's just so damn unfortunate that he's going to lose tomorrow. Like that was what I thought, and and then 24 hours after that, when he won, like I was just I was flabbergasted, in a good way. But
yeah, I was blown away with that too, because all the polls were predicting with absolute certainty in some cases that he wasn't going to win, and he did, and that was he didn't just beat Hillary Clinton, he beat everyone. He took on the world and won. He took it on and he won.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean when you think about, who he had to fight to win, I mean, he had to not only fight Hillary Clinton, but he had to fight both the left media and the establishment right media, who should have been supporting him, but they didn't because, they were never Trump, and we talked all of that already. He had to fight against, the globalists and all of the foreign press. So you're right. When he took on the world, he literally did take on the world, and it was amazing to watch, honestly. So
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, but I think we were talking about, or we were originally, how is this affecting the DNC? And it's because they didn't expect to lose that badly. I mean, it wasn't just Trump. Look at all the seats look at how much ground they lost, and I don't think they've gotten through their heads yet how bad their constituency have understood how badly they've lost. The establishment, have not. Right.
Well, I mean, and here's the other thing too is, I do have some liberal friends, not like hardcore lefty friends, but liberal friends who do remind me on a daily basis that not every liberal is a crazy SJW. Yet the SJWs are the ones with the loudest, voice in the Democrat Party. So because of that, like the establishment, the base, they think that the SJW, is their constituency. So they're trying to pander as far left, to them as possible, and in reality, like the vast majority of the Democrats are just like the rest of us. Like, hey, I just want a good job. Hey, I just want to be able to, go to a good school, or something like that. They're not, they have the same problems as the rest of us, and they're not into this whole SJW mentality, and Trump understood that, so that's why he took so many Democrats. So,
well, yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous. It's it's a weird position that they now find themselves in. Again, just because they've just been routed. If I was to give you a military action here, they've basically been entrenched now, and everyone's surrounding them. If they move, they're going to get their head blown off. And I think Perez becoming the head of the DNC they were screwed no matter who they took. Because if they took Keith Ellison, the old guard would have been gone, and a good chunk of the Jewish vote would be gone too, because Keith Ellison has said some less than great things about Israel and his religion, because he's a Muslim, wouldn't play well into the populace at large. Because I'm sorry, I don't mean to speak ill of Americans, but Islam has a bad reputation in the West right now. It doesn't matter if that individual Muslim's fine. It's the fact that he's a Muslim, and I'm sorry, but that would be a net negative for them.
No, no, you don't have to apologize for that. I talk about how bad Islam is as a whole, all the time, And that is one thing, thank God, where America is still, as a whole, a little bit smarter than Europe, in some respects is, I really like the UK, even though Brexit and whatnot, I still worry about them only because London did elect, that Muslim
City
mayor,
Khan. Yeah,
and
they messed up. They messed up big time with him because a lot he is a Islamist in a lot of his thinking. He betrays himself as a feminist, so we can excuse away his Islamism. That's what I love about it. That those two ideologies have.
Oh my God! I mean, are you shitting me? That's like the biggest oxymoron if I've ever heard one.
Oh yeah, I mean it's ridiculous because everything that could have gone wrong for it to happen has happened to the left this year, and I don't think it's going to stop either. I think this is just the beginning. You're gonna keep seeing it, and it's a weird place because it's weird. It's all none of this should have happened. None of it should have happened, but it did. And now they have no idea what to do with it. And Keith Ellison is, if you ever see a picture of him during these press conferences, is so salty. He's so salty. And I think the DNC is fundamentally done as an organization. And this isn't just Republicans saying it. You have Democrats saying it too. I mean, this is worse. This is way worse than what the Republicans went through after McCain lost or after Romney lost. This is bad. This is probably as bad as when. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, no, and kind of adding on to that, my question to you would be, since you seem to know about this, is, do you think the Democrats then will even last to 2020 in the next election?
Oh, geez, man. I think within the next, I'll be generous to them. I'll give them the next decade. I'll be generous with them, but I think at the pace they're going, no. But within the next decade, they will be fundamentally gone. You will have a third party come out of them. It will be either a progressive party, or if the Republicans want to keep pushing the part, you'll have a libertarian party. It's going to be libertarian or a progressive party. The Green Party will see a swell of support. Is all I'm going to say from the young generation, and the Democrats will not win another election.
So then that brings me to my second question. So we're already saying that you're already saying that they're done within the next 10 years. And yeah, I can get behind that because I kind of see them heading the same way too. My question then is, who do they run in 2020 against Trump?
If they're smart, they run. If they're smart, they'll run someone that is liked by both sides, and at the same time, I'd just say run. What's his face? He ran this time, but he was well liked by both sides. I mentioned him earlier. It was
Jim Webb.
Jim Webb. Yeah, if they were smart, they would rally behind Jim Webb, which they should have done. Jim Webb should have thrown his hand in for the head of the DNC, and this party would have lasted at least another 10 years. But Jim Webb is going to leave. Jim Webb is going to leave, and those people that are like him, that have some of those, closeted leanings towards more of the center, are going to leave. And yeah. I don't know who they're going to run, because who is going to be left? I mean, they could run Keith Ellison, or they could run Elizabeth Warren, but that's not going to happen.
Yeah, well, my uber liberal cousin, and he lives in Los Angeles and he works in the film industry. That's why he's so liberal. I think. He and all his friends are waxing poetic about Liz Warren. They think that that's who. Yeah.
It would be such a mistake because she is not well liked in her own state. She's going to be out of office probably come the midterms. If you look at her approval rating, so unless something changes within the next, 2 years, I don't expect great things from her. She'll be ousted, like with Sanders if he runs again, or literally any of the cuckoos right now. They're going to be ousted. The party has to dump these people. You have to dump the people that are a liability. Franken from my home state, Al Franken, is probably going to get the boot. Ellison might be able to stay in there just because our people seem to like him for whatever reason. But I don't know if they ran Elizabeth Warren against Donald Trump, it will be a massacre to the left. It will be much more of a landslide in Trump's favor. It will be the popular vote for him too. He will get it. That's how bad it is.
Well then shoot, I endorse Elizabeth Warren for the Democrat nomination. Then no, I mean the other thing too is with Elizabeth Warren, all these. Her big thing is supposedly she's, part Native American, just like they're trying to say that Shaun White is, half black.
Sean King? Yeah. Sean Kang. Sean we was Kangs.
Oh yeah. I just called him Sean. Wait, no. Yeah. I just called him. Yeah, my bad. I meant Sean King. I called him Sean. I called him. Yeah, I called
Sean
him,
White.
Yeah.
Well, it's easy to do that because he's pastier than I am. But no, she that hurt her with natives, and I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. Here's when I really started, wondering about the Democrat Party. Like I said earlier, the Democrat Party has gone like way too far off the rails when Bill Maher says that they're done for. Okay, if Bill Maher says that the Democrat Party is fucked, which is kind of in the direction that he's been going, then they're screwed. So, and it all ties back to their anti-free speech, their niche party, and all of that crap.
Yeah.
And the
Republicans have pretty much the Republicans have spread themselves out so much more than I think anyone could have thought possible over the past. God, let's be honest, it's been like 4 years. Ever since Obama's second term, it's just been one thing after another that's just been playing into the other side, and it's weird.
Yeah, and thank God the Republicans finally got the message though. Because we're talking about this now. Like the Republicans are going to keep kicking ass, which hopefully they do. But back in 2008, when Obama got elected, they were in a real, cluster screw then. So,
yeah, it's a weird place that Americans find themselves in, just for the fact that we have one party that's becoming the populist platform, in some regards. We could go into what I would think Trump should do if he really wants to secure his populist regime and keep going. But I think we're in a weird position because it's just a singular party, and it's not totalitarian that we're getting it. It's just the natural thing of this other party's being dicks, and we don't like them. so we're just going to go with this party. Then you also have the third parties getting more traction. The libertarians are getting more traction, which they could have broken, double digits if they had a good candidate.
Yeah,
but
yeah, that, and that's what everyone was saying is, like if the Libertarian Party had actually chosen like someone good, like they could have actually had a real shot at replacing the Republican Party. Instead, they had to pick Gary Johnson, who was just
he's just a Democrat. That's all he is.
Well, I'm not even sure if I'm sure Gary Johnson is a Democrat, but honestly, I think that guy, and I mean this in the nicest way possible, I think he needs mental help. Seriously,
he just needs to lay off the weed. Just take a day off the weed, Gary. But
yeah,
no, it's one of those weird things that we have, and I'm not too hopeful about the Democratic Party.
All right. Yeah. Well. Okay. Any other topics you want to cover?
Well, I mean, not really. I mean, we could probably talk about the Trump weed thing, but it's a non-issue because he's just enforcing the law. I think personally, if just for a tangent on his deal with the weed thing.
Yeah.
I think Trump's personal stance is just leave it up to the state, and I respect that one. I respect that line. But what do you think about that?
Well, I mean, so I'm from Colorado originally before I moved to Florida. And by the way, I moved to Florida before weed got legalized in Colorado. So I was never actually there before. I was never actually there when Colorado, had marijuana actually legalized, if that makes sense. So, honestly, the way Colorado went about legalizing marijuana turned out to be a huge clusterfuck because people were getting stoned while driving, and kids were getting into basically they legalized marijuana without figuring out how to regulate it in Colorado, which was their mistake initially. And I guess since then they've kind of it's gotten better. They've gotten it more under control. But because Colorado was the first state to do it, they had no idea what the hell they were doing when they did it, if that makes sense. So, long story short, as far as the rest of the country goes, they've already legalized, medical use here in Florida, and we all know that it's going to become recreational here anytime soon. I would say probably, conservatively, I would say within the next 5 or 6 years, I would say that weed will probably be legalized in the vast majority of the country, with the exception of some, more religious, and I hate to use this term, but flyover states. But yeah, I think we're going to see the vast majority of weed legalized. In states, I don't think it's going to be a federal thing, but I think it's going to be, state by state, which is how
I agree with you. My thing though is, and this is where I say the Democrats could gain huge ground of support from the centrists. They really could push this. They really could, but and you even have some Republicans. You have the Rand Pauls and the Ron Pauls and the Libertarians that really are just you know what? Let's put this to bed and just be done with it. But there could be a mutual understanding between the parties.
You mean to federally legalize it?
I think there could be a case to it, and I think there could be. I do think. Yeah, go ahead.
There could I definitely agree with you. There could be a case for it, but like I said, I don't think it's going to happen because
I'm being utopianistic.
Yeah, no, yeah. Like in theory, I completely agree with you. Like that's what should happen. But like I said, I think there will be like enough, like states still kind of resist it. But like I think what will happen, like I said, within that next 5 years, like each state will kind of legalize on their own. And eventually, kind of like with alcohol, it'll just, become legalized state by state, until like eventually the whole entire country legalize that. So, and I think
this shouldn't. But I personally don't think this should become. And it should have never have been a partisan issue. It should have been. There should have been and there are Republicans for and there are Republicans against it, but there's no Democrats in the past have really done nothing for this issue. So I don't know. It's just making me annoyed. That I wish Democrats really would go. This is one thing I would support a Democratic governor on, or anyone to just say, yeah, we're gonna push this legislation here.
Yeah. So then, like, what do you do with all those people who are in jail for marijuana crimes, though? Like say that, because like that is one thing that I agree with it on. It's ridiculous that people are getting like 5-year or even 10-year sentences.
I would restructure it just because they're not dealing crack; they're dealing marijuana. I would say that I would force them to get a license to grow it. I would regulate it like you would regulate anything else that people grow. If people want to sell their produce, say you own a little plot of land, they do need a permit. They do need to follow certain regulations. It would be the same thing with marijuana, and it's
right.
It's fine. Look, it shouldn't have become this issue. It should have been over and done with during the Obama administration. But he never did anything about it. No one did anything about it because people were just assuming that it was going to happen with his administration. And I'm saying this, if Trump somehow ever gets this, man, go out there and do it. Go out there and state your position on this and state the reason why you are following the law as it's written, because that's all he is doing at this point. It's not Barack Obama. It's not Barack Obama didn't really reform anything. He just didn't follow the laws that were on the book. That's all what happened.
So do you think at this point Trump is just like trying to appease the evangelical base that Pence brought in with him?
I think on some things a little bit. I mean, we could talk about what's he really doing with the transgender bathroom deal, but that's been talked about ad nauseum since the Obama administration. And let's be honest, Obama's transgender law was flawed. It was deeply flawed. It allowed certain things to happen. Like, I personally don't care if somebody goes into the bathroom which they deem appropriate, so long as they are actually trans. I think we talked about this last night. If they've taken the legal and medical means to actually transition and are actually making an attempt to pass and have their ID all sorted away, I think that's fine. I think if they're attempting to and they're just going there to do their business, whatever. But when it comes to things like the locker room, which was a part of that package last time around, there is a problem with that. There is. And, no one wants to see a dick in a girl's locker room. You don't want to see a 6-year-old saying that.
Right.
And people are going to say, well, it's us Americans being closed-minded and being infantilizing towards our kids. It's like no, we're trying to deem things that are appropriate at each given stage, and that's not really appropriate in that setting.
Right. Or even like the whole thing I get is, oh well, you're just accusing all transgender people being child molesters, and it's like, no, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that, there ought to be, like, basically what I'm saying is, if you're going to be, like, if you're going to be transgendered, like, choose a gender and then stick with it.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're talking. What you seem to be talking about. There's a term on the internet called transgenders, which are basically fake trans. Those guys are the social justice warriors.
Right.
So the guys with that try to politicize their identity. Those guys I have a problem with, because they're just doing it for no reason other than politics, and they're basically using it as a weapon against people with good intentions. They're using people's they're using people's morals against them, and it's wrong. And it's something that I've often found very disconcerting.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. And as far as non-binary people go, I mean, I agree with you. I agree. Have your ID out with you. If now, like, that's the other thing is, it would suck to have your ID to go to the bathroom, because, like, if you're like me, sometimes you've been drinking, like 1 or 2 beers, and then you have to piss, like, within 5 minutes, like, pretty immediately. But, so that would kind of have to suck to have to pull out your ID, for that extra, second or whatever. But hey, it's not that big of a deal, I guess. So
yeah, there are so many topics we could talk about and just go on for hours. But I kind of want to save some stuff for my own show. We could talk about the O'Keefe tapes, the CNN leaks, but I think that's best left for when there's actually something to talk about there.
Yeah, that's not, not much has come out on that yet. So, but hey man, yeah. I would love to have you on. So real quick, before I let you go, anything you want to plug in terms of, like, your YouTube channel, or your Twitter handle, or anything like that?
Yeah, sure. My channel is just literally my name, Kasey Dynneson, KaseyDynneson. And I don't really put up that much content. It's just live streams, to be honest with you. That's kind of the medium I've chosen. And as far as my Twitter, it's just my name, KaseyDynneson at Twitter. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I always take questions, though. If there are topics you want to talk about, you can DM me. You can tweet me and all that good stuff. But yeah, that's all I got. It's great. It was great to be on, man.
All right, I would love to have you on again. Thanks, Kasey.
No problem.
All right, have a good day.
You too. Bye.
All right, bye. Now that is how you fill an hour and 40 minutes in a podcast, folks. That was a great interview, and I'm so glad to have had Kasey Dynneson on the program. We covered a lot of topics. I was initially just expecting us to cover the Milo Yiannopoulos story, but no, we covered a bunch more, and it worked out great, I think. And I hope you guys enjoyed the interview as much as I enjoyed interviewing Kasey. He's a great guy, and I encourage you to check him out on social media and on Twitter, and his YouTube channel as well. As he mentioned, it's usually just live streams, but they're really good live streams. And plus, I'm on there, so that's always good as well. So anyway, that just about wraps it up for the show this week. And unfortunately, we didn't get to cover Trump banning CNN from... Oh, wait, yeah, we did cover that a little bit in the interview. What am I saying? Anyway, that was great, though, wasn't it, folks? When Trump banned hijacked the leftist media from the White House conference. Loved it. Loved it. Anyway, folks, I hope you have a great week, and check out AmericanWatchmen.org, as always, for great articles and great podcasts by yours truly. And check out my personal website at thesamwhitfield.com for all my social media and all of my contact info and some personal blog posts as well. I used to list off the Twitter and whatnot, but, I figure a website would be easier to send that stuff to you guys. Anywho, I hope you have a great week. God bless, and God save this great nation, and I'll see you on the next episode of the Whitfield Report. And with that, that is the news, and I am out of here, as Dennis Miller used to say. Have a great week, and I'll see you soon.